Extinct volcanoes, canyons, changing seasons, thin layer of the atmosphere, it all sounds very intriguing. Mars exploration continues today. Humanity wants to lift the veil of secrecy of the fourth planet solar system. There are currently 8 spacecraft in orbit. Around Mars they are directly on the surface. Special rovers collect data, or, in other words, Mars rovers. This is Curiosity and Persistence, which have been operating since 2012 and 2021 respectively, and also a spacecraft called InSight started his mission in 2018 thanks to data which we received from the devices residing both on the surface and in orbit. We now know a little more about Mars's past, for example, that the planet previously had more favorable conditions and higher humidity. What landscapes could we have seen on Mars before, and what's happening on it? Now research vehicles will tell us about this. We'll start with the Mars Odyssey orbiter. He started his work back in 2001 and is still active. During this time, Odysseus made more than 1,000 orbits around Mars. Thanks to this device, we know what relief formations are there on the surface, and also that there are mineral rocks there. What was especially interesting for us was the fact that there are areas of ice on Mars, but they are in that part of the planet where in principle such a thing would be unlikely. Marceau continues his work, and we will certainly get a lot of new data from him. And this is the Martian Reconnaissance Satellite, or MISSES for short. One of its main tasks is to study the surface, while simultaneously searching for those parts of the planet where it would be convenient to plant some research apparatus. For this reason we have many interesting pictures taken by the MISSES camera. The most notable of these are the photos of sand dunes. You may notice that a crust has formed on the surface. India. As you remember, we talked earlier that on Mars, the seasons change. When winter comes to the planet, there are a lot of changes happening on the surface of course, there are no blizzards on Mars. There are no endless snowfalls, although it is quite cold there. 123 degrees Celsius at the poles, however, on Mars at this time of year. You can still find more than just ordinary snow and 2 types: 1, water, other dry from carbon dioxide. And of course, there are snowflakes on Mars in some pretty unusual shapes. What do earthly water snowflakes look like? They are hexagonal, because snowflakes are a crystalline structure, and the symmetry of such structures is hexagonal. That is, hexagonal, but on Mars, snowflakes made of dry snow are cube-shaped. That is, the symmetry is quadrangular. Martian snowflakes are very small. They can hardly be seen with the naked eye. Snow does not appear on the entire surface of Mars, mostly at the poles. That is, in the coldest zones, and snow in most cases accumulates on the slopes, hills, or in the craters of extinct volcanoes. However, in most cases, the water snow doesn't even have time to reach the surface. Mars and turns into gas. It's all about the atmosphere. She is very discharged, since we've already talked about the atmosphere of Mars, the automatic interplanetary station. Maven explores it to follow up, how it changed in different periods of time, and why, and the reason for that. Why atmosphere is becoming more and more rarefied. Our solar winds, the planet gradually cooled, and with this the shielding effect was weakened. Global magnetic field. What is happening on Mars? When spring comes, the process of melting of Martian ice begins, and the formation of quite interesting ice forms in the spring. Geysers also begin to erupt. Tell about Mars. It's not just orbital probes that can help us, but also Mars rovers, who have been carrying out their mission for several years now, and we'll start with a nuclear-powered Mars rover, Perseverance, or as he is also called Percy. He is one of the youngest rovers which landed on the surface of Mars on 18/2/2021. Perseverance has been exploring the Ezra impact crater for a long time. The main goal of the rover mission is to understand what changes occurred on the surface Mars in the early periods of time, and also find traces of microbial organisms. Thanks to Perseverance, we got samples of the atmosphere of Mars and relief formations on the red planet. Their number reaches 166. Here are some of them. Spacecraft InSight. He survived the most powerful storms, but despite this fulfills its mission properly. The device recorded a Martian earthquake, enormous power. Moreover, it became the strongest of all that we know about on Marsum. Of his thrusts could be felt, And even 10 hours after the earthquake, InSight managed to notice the tremors, despite what is the supposed epicenter of the earthquake is located 2,000 kilometers away. It's worth mentioning him at all that Mars has a fairly high seismic activity during the stay of InSight. Several hundred series of tremors were recorded there. The study of Martian earthquakes will continue, since such phenomena help to find out more information about the relief of Martian. Finally, the Curiosity rover. He has been dedicated to serving space science since 2012. Fresh data comes from it frequently. His particular attention is focused on the clouds of Mars, for example. I managed to notice the Urios city-like during sunset through the clouds located above. Then the rest, the rays of the sun were shining through. These are truly unique shots. Apparently, these clouds contain dry ice and carbon dioxide, while the rest of the clouds are made up of waters. Because of that crystals in the clouds over time change in size. We can see something similar to a rainbow, but as they say, not just clouds. Curiosity also found evidence of lakes which could once have been on Mars. Rovers explore Mount Sharp, which is located in the Gale crater. Supposed that there was once a lake in this crater. Water came to it from Martian rivers, but over time it dried up. Currently, to Curiosity follows the sulfate-bearing block of Mount Sharp. There's a Mars rover there too. Back in 2016, a metallic meteorite was discovered, which was composed predominantly of iron and nickel. The peculiarity of this object is that it was most likely melted earlier. The meteorite was named Agrok due to its round shape and a typically smooth surface. Sometimes it seems to us that we know everything about the planets of the solar system. However, in reality, this is just an illusion. There are so many secrets and mysteries around us, and Mars is no exception. He hasn't revealed much to us yet, and perhaps we will never know much about his past. However, our research vehicles do not waste time and do their best to lift the veil of secrecy on the red planet's past. And which of the discoveries of probes and rovers, what interested you most? And what do you think? What else will we learn about Mars in the near future? Hard times make strong people. This is the only wise statement. What is encouraging in a difficult situation in which you and I found ourselves? What is happening on the planet now? It's not enough to wait it out. You'll have to get used to this and learn to live in a new way. Changed. Reality channel Hubble, like many other YouTube bloggers, for now are at a disadvantage to the legendary frog fell into a jug of milk. We are doing our best. We try to stay on the surface for a little while longer and save your favorite project. If you are not